Welcome back to the channel. So I've done quite a lot of work on this car to turn it into a good running driving car. And I've driven it a little bit, put a tank of gas through it at least. So it drives good, runs like a stalker, feels like a stalker, everything seems really good. Now it's time to start moving on to some of the restoration portion of this job. I called this car a garage find, but really I think it spent a considerable amount of its time outdoors. So that has savaged all the plastic trim on the car. The sunroof doesn't look good. The sunroof seal is brutal looking. And there's a little rust on the frame of the sunroof. So we're gonna start with this sunroof problem. I've never tried to pop the roof on the car because the seal looks terrible. I know that it's not leaking right now. I tested it with water. Everything seems good. But the minute you start tampering with something like this, that's when you start to get into trouble. So you've got to have a day where you can just work on it, get the whole job done, and seal it back up with all new parts. Or else you're going to screw that seal up, you're going to take the thing outside, it's going to rain or snow like it is today. It's April the 21st and it's snowing outside, and then it's going to leak. So I've got all the parts here. Let's go ahead and see if we can get them in. The parts list for this job is pretty simple and readily available. LMR or Western Motorsports here in Calgary. You need an inner seal that goes on the body. You need an outer seal. This goes on the sunroof frame around the glass. And if you're going to paint it, you're probably going to need a little primer and some SEM trim black. I have never tried to open this sunroof, so let's see what kind of horror show happens when we actually begin. Oh, look at that. That pops up. That's less stuck than I thought it would be. You press those little tabs in from the side. That releases the whole latch. Now the glass is free. I'm going to get out of the car. And we should be able to lift this up and pull it out. Listen to that thing crackle. Wow. I'm going to kind of wiggle it from the other side too. There we go. Kind of slides out. Once you get it above the roof line, it kind of slides out of some little tabs there. And then you should be able to lift the whole thing out. So you got your pretty normal situation. Lots of crud in here. Some of this is environmental. Some of it's bits of seal. You got your little tubes in the two corners, which we'll want to, actually in the four corners, which are the drain tubes. And we'll want to try and clean those out. But it looks actually, besides being dirty, it looks pretty good in there. So I think we're going to have a fairly successful deal. Now, you should probably pay attention to this. This is where the seal is going to join up. Let's get a little look at the roof itself. It's, I put it on a nice clean piece of cardboard. You can see that this frame varies anywhere from a little rust to rusted. This is just surface. This part is not damaged. It just needs to be cleaned up. And I think you can see that seal was still holding, but it looks pretty nasty. So we're going to replace all that. Look at the front here. The seal looks like real crap up there. I can scarcely believe it, this didn't leak, but it didn't. Okay, something that might not be entirely intuitive is the open end of the seam on the glass, on the frame, is at the front. On the body, the open end of the seam is at the back here, but on the glass, it's at the front. Anyway, because we're gonna try and paint this, we're gonna start by peeling this stuff off, peeling this old weather strip off, get this down to the metal frame. We'll clean up the frame, then we can prime it and paint it. And while we're waiting for that to dry, we can go ahead and work on the rest of the stuff on the car. So this stuff is just kind of crimped on. Actually, it looks like I don't even need a pick. It's just going to come off that easy. Look at that. Okay, that's good. Just like that. And then there's pieces of this weather stripping just breaking off. They're so brittle. Okay, that junk is gone. I think we're going to clean this up with some glass cleaner first. Then we're going to tape this area to protect it from damage when we go ahead and sand it. You guys might laugh at me for using AC Delco glass cleaner in this shop, but I got to tell you something. I've tried a lot of glass cleaners over the years. That's the best sort of readily available stuff that I have ever had. I think I'm going to get some shop air going and blow some of this track area out, and then we'll use a little probably WD-40 cleaner on the rest of this to try and get it as clean as we can. There's actually a little dirt or something in this side of it. I think it's a good idea. Yeah, and you can see some of the crud dripping out there. It's a good idea to do something like this to try and get this part as clean as you can. And I can see that this frame, the paint and everything looks pretty good on it, except on the outermost surface, on the upper surface. Okay, so that cleaned up pretty nice. And the whole problem is really on the top surface. Everything else looks pretty good. So we're gonna focus on that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tape this off with some 3M masking tape. Then I'm gonna use some of this Body Shop plastic to cover the rest of it. What we're trying to do here is tape this off in a way that will protect this glass when we sand it. Okay, so this is just a tape to sand protection. So I've got a good line of 3M there up against the glass. I'm going to put a thicker line of painter's tape on over top of that just to protect it, and we're going to start with a hand Durablock. So I'm going to start with a Durablock with 320 on it. I'm going to start by hand here. We'll see how we do. These Durablocks are the things that professionals use. They don't cost crazy money. And so if you're doing this kind of stuff, very much at least, you should probably invest in some. That looks like it's coming up pretty nice with really just a pretty quick scuff with just 320. So I think we're going to really keep it at 320. I got some 400 here. And then we'll shoot a little primer on it, see how we do with that. Just to give you an idea, it's cleaned up pretty nice with just a hand sand with 320. You can see the places where it wasn't rusty, I scuffed it. You do need to get a painted surface scuffed so that the paint you're putting on there will adhere. If it's perfectly smooth, you're just going to get that paint peel off again. So what we're going to do with this is peel all that tape off, clean this up real good, degrease it. Then I'm going to remask it, and I'm going to use some of this Body Shop plastic to cover the big areas. Then we'll start actually painting it. The reason I don't like painting, and you probably shouldn't either, is it's so much prep work. But here we've got this sunroof masked off, top and bottom. It's been taped sort of along both edges there, and then there's been Body Shop plastic put over the top and over the bottom to protect the glass. I'm going to give it a final degrease, then I'm going to load it up into a little box here to help reduce overspray, and we'll start painting it. So we'll get that rubber off of there, and we'll start cleaning this up while we're waiting for paint to dry. Let's see if we can just peel this right off. It's a disgusting mess in here. Let's start with a little bit of sort of industrial type cleaner. That's looking way better already. So the new weather strip already came with the seam sealed up. That seam, we want to start right about the middle. Right about the middle of the latch. I'm going to get myself up in here and start pressing this down over the pinch weld. Okay, that looks like a good start. It looks pretty good to me. That looks a lot better, doesn't it? Okay, we're going to hit this with a little SEM trim black. Now we're being really careful not to touch any of the surface that we're painting. Okay, so that's one coat. We're going to let this flash off for 5 minutes. Okay, we've given that 5 minutes to flash off. This is why you have to mask off both sides. Give that another 5 minutes. Then we'll hit it one more time. I'm going to hit it with one more coat, then we're going to leave it for the weekend. Let's walk away for 48 hours. Okay, so this sunroof sat for 3 days before I could get back to it over a weekend, and then I was out of town on Monday. Anyway, the SEM trim black says cures, fully hardens in 48 hours, so it should be really well and truly good to go. Let's unmask it and see how we did. Then we'll go ahead and put the new seal on the frame. I don't know about you guys, but I always feel bad tearing the mask off because usually I spent a lot of time putting it on in the first place. Well, it looks great, 100 times better than it did before. Wow. I mean, this was a rusty mess. Now it looks good. Okay, so we got our new weather strip here. This outside part goes on the inside, and there is a little bit of a notch in the seal there. So what I'm going to try to do is just slightly overlap that notch. I'm just going to start just slightly over the notch, and then we'll just kind of start pressing this on. Okay, so we got a little bit of bunching at these corners. Not bad. When we've got it around here, we're just ever so slightly long. There's the long part. I think we'll just very carefully trim a little bit off of this. Then we'll trim whatever's necessary off of this to get it to butt tightly, and we should be good. Now, there's a metal band in here, so you're gonna need more than a Wolfa knife for that. Put a little Sharpie mark on there. Cut that little piece out. We need to go more or less straight across here, I would say. So now there is a tiny notch underneath, which is how it was from Ford, I guess. And these pieces up here are butted together tightly. I'm going to kind of zoom you up on this joint here if I can. You'll notice there's a little notch in the frame. I've offset the sunroof seal to actually cover that notch. And then if you look here, you can see there's a tiny notch here in the seal where it clips onto the frame. And then here I have a nice tight abutment that's going to stay put. Now, like I said, when I took this off, there was actually a significant gap here, and it wasn't leaking. I did water tests on it, it wasn't leaking. So this looks like it's probably about right on. Looks like a good tight butt up seal there, and we'll go ahead and put this on the car. We get those little tabs started and then slide it forward. All right, and we'll go in the car. We'll get the latch in place here. There it is, popped open. There it is, sealed. Wow. That looks way better. This corner was one of the worst. Now it looks good. The seal looks good. You can see up there, just the tiniest little bulge here. And inside everything looks good here. Tiny wrinkle in the seal there. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell so that you won't miss out on future videos.